So what happened is I prepared material, separate material, a separate topic for tutorial. But then Professor Gertz says, oh, tutorial can be more like a review or discussion and things of that nature. So we have a tremendous flexibility. We can learn new topics, or we can answer your questions and help you in some ways. So which way you like me to do? Let's see. That's okay. Maybe some connection may be off. Thank you, wonderful, yeah. So just give you a little more information. This topic is about robust design, how you design things that are robust. Yeah, and one of the quality gurus that we mentioned before was Dr. Taguchi from Japan, and he promoted this idea of robust design. So we have a choice. I could teach you robust design, or I could answer some questions for you.
You could teach us robust design.
Robust design. So you guys don't want to talk. Remember what is robust. So we can go fast. So maybe we can, this is like a review of what we learned. These are all philosophical things. You may not have much interest in that. So we talked about this slide, right? Feed forward. And there is one concept called Six Sigma. And then you can incorporate robust design in Six Sigma. So like this morning, you heard your Vice Chancellor saying that he has a certification in Six Sigma. So then the question is, what is Six Sigma? So the basic idea is very, very simple. So like if you have a process, you're making some product, and then you have a substitute quality, then there is a target value. And then you cannot make things at the target, so we put what we call as specification limits. So specification limit idea is binary. It says if you are from here to here, then you are good. If you are here, then you're bad. If you are here, then you're bad. So this is binary form of measurement. And so if a process is not very stable, then sometimes you have this distribution, sometimes you have this distribution, sometimes it could go there. Then you can start making non-conforming items. So in Six Sigma, we say you define what your quality characteristic is. What is the substitute? Then you measure it statistically. Then you analyze it. Then you improve it. And then you control it, and then you transfer the technology throughout the whole organization. So you can apply this idea in your life. So somebody says, let us pretend him. He says, I'm not very happy. So I said, what you mean, why are you not unhappy? So you can come up with some example of being not happy. So he could say, whatever his example is, we will try to identify it and see what is the causation. Why is he not happy? So he could say, oh, my advisor gives me too much work, whatever his unhappiness is. So then we say, what is his problem? Let us measure it. What does it mean? Advisor gives too much work. Then how much work is good for him. So you could say, oh, work that is good for him is 18 hours per week, just a number. Then you could say, oh, it's not always 18. I'll be very happy if the work is from 15 hours to 21 hours. So then those become your standard. But if what the advisor gives you is like this distribution, then this tail is less than the specification, he's not very happy. You could say why he's not happy, he's getting less work. But if he's the smart, he's not happy with less work too, because he'll be bored. He wants to do well, and you want people to challenge you. So then the question is, how can you improve this process? So improvement means is my distribution should have small variability. So then we analyze it, we figure out how to improve it. So one way we improve things is by, that is what science is, cause and effect. So you understand the relationship between inputs and outputs. So then and one way you do that is through experimentation. What is science? If somebody asks you, what is science, what would you say?
To find the cause.
Huh?
To find the cause.
To find the cause, and how did you find the cause? You do experiment, yeah, you do experiment, very good. And then you can study statistically, what's the relationship between input and the output. Another part of science is that first you hypothesize something theoretically, but then you don't know whether your hypothesis or conjecture is true. So then you will do experiment to say whether you should stay with your hypothesis or whether you should reject it. So that is called this concept of testing a hypothesis. So like Einstein developed theory of relativity equation, and he says, oh, if this is there is a gravitational effect, then this is how rays from some star will curve. But nobody had seen that before. So it took 20 years to observe that. Then people are very excited that what Einstein is saying is good, because what he predicted come out to be true. In pure science, in the philosophy of science, you never accept anything. Only thing you do is you fail to reject. And philosophically, failure to reject is not the same thing as accept. You understand the difference? How will you articulate it? That failure to accept is not the same thing as reject. I'm talking a little bit very higher level than just quality. As you could say, failure to reject. If there is something and I don't have enough data to reject it, right? So if I don't have enough data to reject it, should I accept it? I cannot reject something today. Then the question is, that means should I accept it? And if true scientists, you never accept anything. We say philosophically, a scientist can never prove anything. All we do is we fail to reject. So if Einstein says E equal to mc squared, is it correct? E equal to mc squared is correct. Pardon?
We didn't do any experiment on that, so how can we...
No, even if we did experiments, and let us say all the experiment confirmed it, so should we accept it?
No, I don't think.
No.
Okay.
How can, yeah. See, like Newton said F equal to ma, right? You remember that equation?
Yeah, mass equation.
So then F equal to ma, and is that correct? No, that's what Einstein told Newton, that how wrong Newton was, because that equation doesn't work near a black hole, or is not able to predict how elementary particles behave. There are particles who may have no mass, so how can you talk about F equal to ma? So it is just an approximation in a very small range. We failed to reject it. That doesn't mean we accept it. That's why, because if we accepted it, then Einstein won't do his research. You follow? If you accept something, then there is no new research to be done. So true scientists never accept anything. They're always striving. The biggest headline in a newspaper is when somebody will find a event in this universe that will contradict Einstein. If all you do is observe things that are consistent with Einstein, it is not in any newspaper. But one of these days it will happen. We'll find events that are opposite of what Einstein said. Then everybody will get excited. So only time when growth happens in science is when we reject our prior beliefs. If we never reject them, we are stupid forever. Whatever our present level of stupidity is, will remain there. So that means we have to, one of these days, if you accept it, you are in trouble. You follow what I'm saying? If I accept something, then why will I work to do more research? So a true scientist never accepts anything. And that has probably no relevance to BTech students because that's a very deep thing, and even probably 99% of scientists don't understand it. People make statements that the scientists are able to prove this. So the word prove has no meaning in science because you cannot prove anything. How can you prove anything philosophically in this universe? We are so insignificant, so you can't prove anything. So typically what we do is we fail to disprove. Failure to disprove is not the same thing as proving. So that was the idea. So then you try to improve the process. So maybe this process is not very good, we could improve it. So now you can see this process is relatively good. So if you use a certain distribution, then very few things are outside the tail. So mathematically what happens is 6 sigma means is that this specification is 6 standard deviation from the target, right? So that's the idea of 6 sigma philosophy. So if you have some of you know normal distribution or no? Nobody took probability course, right? Anybody took probability course? Most of you don't take probability course. How about our undergraduate student?
Probability distribution.
So you took, you MTech. How about undergraduate student? You take a course in probability and statistics. So you learned normal distribution? Yes, no? Yes, only one student, yes. How about other people? Yes, sir. So normal distribution, how many things are plus and minus 1 sigma? It's almost like 2/3. Then you go to a plus and minus 2 sigma, then you get 95% approximately. You could go plus and minus 3 sigma, you get 99.73, then you can go plus and minus 6 sigma. So now you can see that you can get very close to 100%. So if you have 6 sigma, if my specification is here to here, then maybe only 2 things in a billion will be outside the specification. So that's the idea of Six Sigma.
Almost 100% accuracy.
It's almost 100%. Nothing can be ever 100% because normal distribution is from minus infinity to plus infinity. So even if your specifications are very, 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 very wide, you're still not 100% because mathematically. But many processes drift over time. So then typically what they do is they let the process drift about 1.5 sigma, and then we can say how many products may be outside this limit or outside this limit. So typically that number comes out to be, if you are 6 sigma capability, so this is like 6 sigma, so then you have about 3 defectives in a million. 3 defectives in a million. So then we could say if there is a group like IRS in the United States, that's just 1 sigma, or if you have a surgery in America, that may be 5.7 sigma, or like how many people die on flights, that may be 7 sigma, and so on. So old days people said, oh, we could have 6 sigma capability, but objective is not to have 6 sigma capability. You want 7 sigma and 8 sigma and 9 sigma. So philosophically, you need infinite sigma, infinite sigma. Infinite sigma means is that you can make everything perfect, right on target. Not within the spec limits, but right on target. So that's the basic idea. So these are like typical steps for Six Sigma. So first always is define, measure, analyze, then you improve, and then you control it so that you can sustain it for your planning period. And then you invest a lot of time and money here. So then this idea, this technology, we can then transfer it to other departments in a company. So just like we are doing, if I do research, it's a GE or Motorola or Honeywell or any company, then they can take this idea and then implement it in India in a factory. So many companies in India apply Six Sigma. One of your friends' PhD thesis was on Six Sigma that I reviewed, I remember. Yeah. So he applied the Six Sigma for electric power, right? And then what are the problems with electric power? You know, in India, power systems are not very reliable. Yes, no. You have brownouts so often. So then how to maintain and sustain a power systems. And then, so then you can apply these 6 steps to improve power system. You can apply it for nuclear power plants. You can apply it for making computers. You can apply it for developing software. So it doesn't really matter. You can apply it to everywhere. You can apply it to your own personal life. You're not happy, like we said, you define your problem, you measure it, you analyze it, you say where you are, then where you want to be, and then how you're going to improve things, right? Yes, sir.
Let us say,
We need it.
no, let us say in our regular power goes, what we do? हमारे घर में लाइट चली जाती है, पावर चली जाए तो क्या करते हैं? चलो let us say forget about the inverters. Now you apply your mind, but I am asking about the realities. First, we just call our neighbors. कि आपके घर की लाइट गई है, आपकी भी है. But when we are at developed countries, as he is talking about the reliability of the electrical power, how reliable the systems are in developed countries, that they first, when let us say if something happens like this, they first goes and they check the MCBs. Even I know I have some knowledge about the electrical, but I never go to check the MCBs. It's very
for
difficult.
for them it is rare.
And if you check it, it's good. But this is a question of reliability. That the systems are so tuned that we people rely on those systems, that they are made up to a very, let us say, good level. And if you have gone through the last slide, I think, will you go for the last slide? If you have noticed something on the last slide, if you see this slide, though it is up to, you can say, I don't know, because the slides has been provided by Professor Kapoor, but I can infer from this slide is, you see most of the issues which have been raised, they are related to, most of them are related to the medical side. Either it is a case of mammography, it is a case of overdose of antibiotics, it is a inpatient medication accuracy, then hospital deaths, then prescription written by doctors, anesthesia. And the rest issue is by the air. Only two issues are concerned. Because what happens, as in the morning we were discussing about the geographical area of US, that is 4 times than India, and the population is 1/4 of the India. That is, the density is approximately 1/16 or let us say 16 times in India. Here, due to this, the issues, the things which are related to the manpower, because manpower is at the top priority, and that's why we used to consider these such type of issues when we are just to make an understanding of the technical concepts or technology transfer. We take such type of incidents because all these are otherwise related to the directly manpower. The same example can be given when we are preparing certain food items or certain, let us say, machineries in US. That may be an example. Let us say we are manufacturing for a lathe. It may be plus minus 1 sigma or 2 sigma, or it can go up to 6 sigma. But no, the example is because here we consider the manpower at the top priority, and there is no compromise with the manpower. And similarly, if there are certain persons who are otherwise physically challenged, they are given too much priority as compared to the normal human being. So this is the case of that kind of thing. Another example of, you can say, the limits of this sigma, up to 6 sigma or 8 sigma, whatsoever, you can consider it. Nowadays, I think at your university also, we people are providing grades to the students rather than going for absolute marking. Isn't it? आपको marks मिलते हैं या grades मिलते हैं डिग्री में? Marks मिलते हैं, मतलब grades नहीं देते, A grade, B grade, something like that. नहीं, CGPA नहीं मिलता. CGPA मिलता है. Then it is a grade, it is not a mark system. What we do in case of CGPA, first we evaluate your answer sheets out of 100 marks or out of 75 marks or 60 marks. Then we convert these marks in terms of grades, isn't it? Let us say your question paper is of 100 marks, you are getting 80 marks. We say that you have achieved A grade. Then we convert this A grade in terms of marks on a scale of 0 to 10. If your CGPA is on a scale of 0 to 10, then we convert this grade in terms of marks out of 10. That is GPA, average system. So in that case, when we are supposed to evaluate the answer sheets and we are supposed to mark the students on the basis of these grades when the CGPA or the SGPA is to be awarded, then we are supposed to follow that normal distribution which we have studied within certain limits of sigma, isn't it? It's not like this as we do in practice. That is termed as absolute grading system. But in fact, when we are following the grade system, then we are supposed to go by this normal distribution, and the range of the marks is within plus minus certain limits of sigma from the mean value following the normal distribution curve. And that starts with from the setting of the question paper, how to set a particular question paper. If there are 8 questions, the 2 or 3 questions, they should be very difficult to do. 2 or 3 questions, they are moderate, and rest of the questions, 2 or 3, let us say if I divide into 3 parts, they are easy to solve, so that every student can get marks. Then the average marks of the students, so average of the class marks, that is the mean of the normal distribution. And then we used to say, if the students are lying within plus minus sigma, they will be awarded this much grade. If they lie within plus minus 2 sigma limits, they will be awarded this grade. If they lie within plus minus 3 sigma limits, they will be awarded this much grades. And if I take 3 sigma limits, that is mean plus minus 3 sigma, on both the sides, I have the 6 sigma limits, 3 on the plus side, 3 on the minus side. And if I consider the mean value, then I can have the 7 grades. And that is the system of the UGC, that every student has to be evaluated on a grade system which is from 0 to 7, where we people In technical colleges, we follow the system of 0 to 10 on a grade point average. These are certain systems where we follow the 6 sigma or 3 sigma, or I should say the sigma limits related to the reliability in our daily uses, where we either in academics or in medical life. Okay, thank you. Sir, you can.
Thank you. So we talk about these for Six Sigma process. So the basic idea was that old thinking used to be qualities in terms of conformance to requirements or specification. So you can see this is a very, very binary system. If this is my target, this product is not the same as this product, right? But if there is a product here and there is a product here, this is failure, but this is success.
Yeah.
It's like old days, people say you take some exam, so they say you get 70% to pass the class. One student gets 71, passes, other is 69, fails. There's no difference between these two students. But one who gets 71 and one who gets 100, they're both pass. But 100 is so different than 71. So it says that this model of quality evaluation based on conformance to specification is very bad model, because this is binary, not multi-state. So reality is that you could develop a dish-utility function. So if this is my target, and then more I move away from the target, worse off quality is. So then I could develop a dish-utility function, how unhappy I am with the product. And then you can evaluate quality by evaluating for the whole distribution. So that idea is that you could integrate it, and then this becomes a metric for quality. In this model, if you made everything within the specification, you will have 0 defects, so your loss is 0. But in this model, you will still be unhappy. So that means you are constantly improving for perfection. So then you can develop all kinds of equations on how to evaluate quality, whether it is smaller the better or larger the better. And then one can do experimentation to figure out what is the causation, which factor affect quality. So there is a statistical approach called design of experiment that one can use to improve quality by experimentation and understanding the causation. The person that developed that idea was a Dr. Fisher in England in 1920s. So you can see that was such a powerful idea that we implemented very successfully, at least in the United States, in agriculture. Old days, you know, you are a farmer. So supposing you are growing corn, you make the corn, you grow it, then you can look at each piece. You say, oh, this is a good piece, I ship it. This isn't good, I throw it away. But most of us know that by inspection, you cannot improve the quality of corn, right? Because by the time you put seed in the soil, and if it is not the right seed, and the right soil, and the right nutrients, and the right, fertilizers and water, and on, it is too late to measure the output. So this was so powerful that in this world, we are able to improve productivity of agriculture, not like 10% or 100%, but by thousands of percentages, by applying this simple idea that today you tell me what output you want, I can tell you what input you should have. I can genetically change the structure, DNA of the seed to get you what output you want. I know exactly how much nitrogen and phosphorus to put. If you look in this world, at least I can get you statistics for America, more than 100 years ago, 60% of the population was working on farming, 60%. Today, it is 3%. 3% is able to feed not only America, but a lot of other countries. I don't know what percentage of people are in agriculture in India. In America, like we're saying, it is only 3%. Maybe in India, maybe 20% or 30% or 10%, you know. Or you can, so one way is that this is your homework. You go home, you Google, and then Google will tell you, if you don't know nothing else, that what percentage of population in India is in farming. And then you could say 100 years ago, how many of us were in farming? That percentage will be very high. If you really think, you know, several hundred years ago, everybody was involved in some way in farming, right? And today it is very, very small. And that is having a tremendous impact, not just in Indian society, because a lot of farmers who are not needed, where will they go? They migrate to cities, and then there'll be pollution and congestion and poverty and crime. So this problem China has been facing too. So China's growth is, how all these farmers, suddenly there are no jobs. Everybody wants to go to Beijing and Shanghai. But China says, no, you can't do that. So Indian system is because we have freedom. So anyone can move from anywhere to anywhere, right? So a farmer could move to Bombay. They have no job, no work. They could sleep anywhere, right? But China says, no, you can't do that. So in China, if you want to move to Beijing, you need a special permission. Even though you're a Chinese citizen, you can't move to Beijing. So they have some areas, what they call SAR, Specially Administered Region. To move there, it is almost like a foreign country to you. You need a special visa to go from point A to point B. So why is China doing that? They say otherwise it will be chaotic situation, right? So like we have, sometimes people feel in India, if there's overcrowding and then cities are not capable to manage these people. So that means you have to learn how to solve this problem where it starts and then provide opportunities, factories, for those people rather than everybody coming to New Delhi or Delhi to find a job, right? So then there's a big contradiction. You say we are a democratic society, we can't do that, and China may be a different society, and then they can do that. So those become very, very philosophical issues, and then every society has to decide what is good for them. But one thing you should always remember is the society will keep on changing, right?
Yes,
100 years ago, your parents could say, oh, become a good farmer, I have 2 bigger jameen and you will take over and you will grow the corn. But they never understood that in 50 years, there won't be a need for this farming, right? So all those farmers' jobs will disappear. Similarly, a lot of jobs that you guys will have in 100 years, they'll disappear, right? Then we may have robots. We talk about artificial intelligence. And a lot of jobs that you think you are doing will disappear. So that's what education is all about, that you have enough flexibility so that you are able to evolve with time. If you don't have the right skills, learning capabilities, critical, how to utilize the resources that are out there, then your ability to adapt and survive won't be very, very good. So that's the purpose of education. So we went from farming to education using simple ideas of design of experiments that Dr. Fisher developed in 1920s in United States. So there was a very famous Japanese statistician. His name was Dr. Taguchi. So he came to India in 53. India has one of the best statistical departments, at least they used to have. Nobody in the world could match that. And a lot of famous people in statistics who did very basic research in statistics. You heard of Indian Statistical Institute? Huh? Calcutta, Bangalore, even in Delhi, everywhere it is there. So Mahalanobis Bonis came to Calcutta, and Taguchi came to Calcutta, and there was an Indian statistician, Mahalanobis. He learned design of experiment from him. So then he went back to Japan in '62, and he then started applying it to manufacturing in all over Japan. And suddenly, Japanese quality and productivity improved. So then everybody in America said, oh, if Japan can do it, how come we can't do it? So then we went to Japan and we said, what are they doing? So then we learned that this professor was teaching them these ideas. So then we brought all these ideas back to the United States. But all of these concepts were started in Calcutta about the concept of, not basic design of experiment, but people who taught Dr. Taguchi basic concepts of design of experiment was in India. And he always, when he gives lectures, it talks about the benefits he had from India. So I think this is not of statistics. We can ignore that. So the purpose is how you can apply design of experiment to make things robust. Remember, that's one of the themes of our seminar, how to make things robust. And remember, the word robustness means is people intuitively think that something is very strong and so on. Somebody, oh, I'm a very robust person. But mathematically means is that it is the ability to function under different types of uncertainty, noises, variation. So that means it is less sensitive and it is immune to noises, immune to variation. So you can see that's the idea, like how you can relate robust. This morning I gave you example, like how my immunity is gone, and you can drink, this water I won't drink. I know if I drank, tomorrow I'll have to cancel class, right? But you can drink it, I can drink it, because I become very fragile. My system doesn't know how to deal with this bacteria. It will say, I don't know what to do, so I'll get sick right away. You can apply it in telecommunication, in control systems, in genetics, like we talked about, in economics. And this idea is you can apply it in political system. So you can see, like we talk about, somebody says, oh, how come America is so good? So more than 200 years ago, in United States, the forefathers, when they created the country, they didn't complain that people are no good. Like in India, we always complain about other people, right? So people are people. People in India are not any different than people in Japan or Russia or China, right? In a biological sense, we are basically the same. There's hardly any difference in our blood types, our body, color may be different of the skin, but basic is the same. People are people. So then our forefathers in America said, how can we make a system which is robust against people? So people have greed, people have jealousies, people will cheat, right? So how can you design a system so that even if people have weaknesses, its impact on the system, on society, would be very, very small. So that was the concept in America of what we call as the checks and balances. So we created three branches of government, executive branch, judiciary branch, and legislative branch. And all three branches have equal power. So just like sometimes you'll hear, oh, in India somebody takes bribe, or like in I think when Saddam Hussein got removed, so they said his son went to bank and took away, $20 million and walked away, right? In America, even if you're the president of United States, you can't go to U.S. Treasury and take a $10, put it in your pocket and walk out. A cop will stop you right away and put you in jail. So the notion is of checks and balances. So that means even you elect by mistake a bad person, the damage they can do is very, very small. I mean, theoretically, they can still do some damage, but people say, no, we'll survive this. It doesn't really matter. So as soon as you become president, your main complaint is that you can't do anything because legislative branch won't let you do it and judiciary branch won't let you do it. But you are be surprised there must be more than 30 countries in this world who don't implement the system of checks and balances. You have a dictator. What's the difference in being a dictator? Means that one bad person can do a lot of damage to the system, right? So the whole system is so sensitive whether you feel good today or not, right? Because you decide an elder and he says, kill these 10 people, somebody will go ahead and kill them, right? So in America, judicial branch is so powerful. Many times people complain in India, our judicial branch is not very powerful. I mean, they try to be. And then certain branches are more powerful than the other. So that is the idea. Don't complain about people, but fix the system. Fundamentally design a system so that people's imperfection doesn't matter. So that used to be, like you guys were talking about people living in India. So it used to be that same people from Japan, from Russia, from India, if they stayed in their country, they never do anything or can't do anything. They go to America and they can get a Nobel Prize. Now, how come the same person, if they stayed in India, cannot get a Nobel Prize, but they can get a Nobel Prize in America? Why is that? What do you think? You're not following what we're saying? No? Okay. How about you?
Research around
So you think it is the system? Yeah, whatever. So it is the system. It is not the person. It is the system. It is the system. So that's why the most important thing is to develop a good system and not complain about people, not complain about politicians, but to develop a good system. Why do people, if you have a democracy, how could you ever complain about any politician? Who elects them? So then you blame yourself, right? Makes sense? Why blame politicians and they say they are corrupt? Corrupt are people, not politicians, right? You think that's a very strong statement to make? The corrupt are the people, right? Why would people vote for these people? You have always options.
So we choose best from them.
I think that's an excuse. Yeah.
Education.
Education, sure. That's what we are.
People are not able to identify who is good or who is bad.
That's
Because their
true.
education level doesn't provide the sense to choose the best.
If you start with that logic, I think we were talking with somebody, that's what China believes in. So they will say that if our population is not educated, they are not ready to have democracy. So that's their hypothesis. So they say if somebody is a famous economist professor in Beijing and somebody is a farmer, how could this person has one vote and this person has one vote? This person has no idea about economy, how the world behaves, what should be Chinese policy. But one person, one vote doesn't mean democracy can only work if everybody has equal information. That's the basic assumption in democracy. So there are three of you, right? And you know which is a good restaurant. They have no clue. But you gave a recommendation, they vote you down. So democracy cannot work, right? You are very smart, but they are always voting you down. So idea is it can only work if we have relatively, we know people are not perfect, people are not equal, but the idea is that can only work. So that means before you can execute democracy, like you are hinting at, then you have to educate people and then see whether you can sustain democracy, whether one person, one vote is a true merit, whether it can be implemented or not. So now you can see that we are not only teaching you engineering, but we are teaching you social engineering and political engineering and how to design a system. So you can, I think I emphasized a lot about why 21st century is a century of biology. We no longer use physics and chemistry. Everything is bio something. So now we work on biophysics and biochemistry and bioengineering and biomaterials and on and on and on. So you can learn so much here because we have been evolving for who knows what, millions and millions of years. So if nature has perfected something over millions of years, we don't have to waste our time to duplicate it another million years. So we can learn from nature, we can design systems the way nature works, and then we can improve. So when in your university, there is a bioengineering department. In my university, your time is up. So they are getting extra. So this is extra tuition, I'm sorry. If you're sitting here, so you have to pay a little bit more because we are teaching overtime. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
You will pay extra, right? To listen to me, no? So we can continue with this tomorrow morning. So have a good evening and enjoy yourself. Thank you. Thank you.